Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the debut of Montage. I'm Jennifer Valapi. Now, some of you are already familiar with Montage. It was, of course, a long-standing tradition here at WTVJ. It's a tradition that we intend to continue. In the coming weeks, we'll be exploring the people, the places, and the issues that make South Florida one of the most unique and exciting areas of the country. This is one of the most diverse regions of the world, from our landscape to our cultures to our attitudes, and it's exactly that diversity that adds a unique perspective to all of our lives. It's uplifting, it's controversial, from the people who make this town move to the people who move our hearts. You're going to meet them all on Montage. Tonight we begin with some of the most precious residents we have, many of whom are threatened right here in our own backyard. Michael Williams takes us on a trip through Florida Bay, where eagles soar.
On this breathtaking day, nature seems determined to show off its handiwork. Dolphins ply the waters of Florida Bay. A bald eagle circles a mangrove isle. Fishermen pull in a prize, and wading birds look for their catch of the day. But the serene setting here belies something else at work in the waters of Florida Bay: fertilizer and pesticide runoff from farms and sugarcane fields to the north. A nutrient mix is created that promotes algae growth and turns the water here pea green.
And this algae bloom has actually prevented the turtle grass which is a very important grass bed here in the Florida Bay area, from reproducing. And the grass beds are actually the hatchery grounds for the fish.
A dwindling supply of fish and the steady rise in pollution bring Brian Mealey and Greta to mangrove isles this day. They work for the Falcon Bachelor Bird of Prey Center at the Miami Museum of Science, and they are worried about eagles and osprey, which roam the bay for food. While Mom and Dad voice their displeasure overhead, Greta Parks gently plucks an eaglet from its nest.
She's about 35 days old. She's still got the little downy on her head. She's not really very aggressive, although she'll do what she can to protect herself. She doesn't really know how to use her talons yet. And she's quite full. If you can see, her crop is quite full. So her mother's already dropped food down in there for her, or her father.
There are an estimated 60 eagles living around Florida Bay, and some 14 eaglets are born each year. For 5 years now, these researchers have been doing field work on the eaglets.
Okay, that's it.
Throat cultures and blood samples are taken in an effort to figure out if pollution threatens or eventually will threaten the birds.
And ultimately, you hope this little vial of blood will tell us how this eaglet is
faring.
Yes. Vis-a-vis man's impact on their environment.
Mealey says the eagle population in Florida Bay is stable for now, but he is always on guard. A few years ago, 2 eaglets showed signs of pesticide poisoning. They recovered.
Okay, girl. Look good. Hang in there.
We move on, heading deep into another mangrove thicket. Mealey and Parks continue their work looking for another eagle nest.
I don't see the female, but the nest is going to be up here. Hopefully the chicks are still there.
The chicks are still there. They are 50 days old and will be ready to fly soon. We are afforded a rare up-close view of the eaglets. At 5 years old, they will develop the white feathering that will give them the name bald eagle.
And we want them out here. We don't want them in cages. We don't want them anywhere else except in the wild.
Reluctantly, we take our leave. The researchers have other work to do. This time we are looking for the osprey, like the one that grants us this flyby. We make our way to a dry, open expanse of mangrove isle. Mealey moves in on the osprey chick and success. Another bird in hand, another battery of tests. The osprey is one barometer of the growing concern about the future of Florida Bay. In the late 1970s, park rangers estimated there were 200 nesting pairs of osprey here. Recently, that number is down to 70. Unlike the eagle, which is not fussy about its diet, the osprey only eats fish, and a polluted bay means less to choose from.
They feed primarily on fish, be it mullet, jack, redfish, or whatever may be out here. They just don't find enough fish anymore to feed their young.
The worry, of course, is that the osprey's problems will eventually be the eagles, and that the entire rich tapestry of life that is Florida Bay will come apart under the relentless siege of man.
We're going to lose something. We're going to lose some diversity. We're going to lose some systems, but we don't have to lose it all. We can still preserve it, we can still conserve it, but it's going to take a concerted effort.
And our thanks to photographer Joe Harzinski and our guides, Jennifer, Brian Mealey, and Greta Parks, for a look at one of Florida's most precious resources.
What incredible animals. Now, are there any hopeful signs for the Florida Bay?
Well, as always happens, nature is showing us some signs. In the last 2 years, a lot of rainfall, much more than normal, and that is having a cleansing effect on Florida Bay, so clearly there's hope for restoration.
How does this all tie into Everglades restoration?
Well, you know, we've heard Vice President Gore talk about Everglades restoration, buying up sugar cropland and using that as filtering marshes so that there's a cleansing flow of water coming into Florida Bay. That's a huge debate, and it will all be critical to the future of that bay.
Thanks, Michael. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.